Shalom and welcome to 15 Minutes of Torah. In today's video, we're going to be going over proofs that will prove that the Torah, the written and the oral Torahs, are actually divinely given. They are exactly like they were given to us on Mount Sinai. And we'll show that there's no way a human being could have written a book. Now, for people that don't understand or don't know what the oral Torah is, the oral Torah is all of the explanations and details on how to observe and fulfill the 613 commandments that are written in the written Torah. So the written Torah is the first 5 books of what most people consider are called the Old Testament. So Genesis through Deuteronomy. In that book, we have 613 commandments. However, in the written book, we have absolutely no details on how to fulfill any of those commandments. They're just the names of the commandments. The oral Torah comes in and it explains how we're supposed to observe each one of those laws. So in this video, we're going to be basically focusing on the oral Torah for a moment. And how we're going to do that is we're going to show something that's very, very interesting, that when it was written, it was something that nobody could have known and nobody could prove one way or another. It just had to be taken by for face value, that okay, if you say so, but we can't prove it. Nobody can prove it. But now we can prove it. So this is where we're going to get, it's going to get very interesting. And at the end, there's a very nice video, very beautiful video. You'll enjoy it, I hope. So let's get started. So we're going to start right at the beginning of the very first book, Bereshis, which is actually Genesis in English. So if you go to Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 and verse 2, we're going to be focusing on just one word, and we'll show you how just by that one word we can show that the oral Torah was not, it was divinely given, and it wasn't just made up. So obviously everybody knows the story. At the beginning, God created the heavens and earth, and when He first created them, the earth was unformed, void, and there was darkness over the surface of the water, and God hovered over the surface of the water. So we're going to go to verse number 2, and there's the third word in the Hebrew. We have to do it in the Hebrew because you can't see these hints in any kind of translation. So the third word here is tohu. Tohu means empty or void, and bohu means astonishingly, like unbelievably. Like it's like more than just empty. I mean, you would think something's empty, but there might be a box that's empty, might have a little something that this was astonishingly empty. So, but we want to focus on just the word tohu. So, other than the fact that tohu actually means emptiness or void, the rabbis tell us that actually this word, they were told by Moshe from Mount Sinai that this word actually tells us that there's a green line around the earth. So you can imagine 3,300 years ago, somebody says, well, this word here means there's a green line on the earth. How can anybody prove that 3,300 years ago? Nobody had a telescope. You can't see, even with telescopes, you can't see it from on. You'd have to be in space to be able to see this green line. So let me go over it. I'm going to go into the oral Torah now, and I'm going to show you the verses that talk about this. And this is Masechet Chagiga, page 12a, and it's talking about the heavens and earth at the beginning. So it's written, in the beginning, God created heaven and earth. So this is the word we're looking for, tohu and vohu. It's written, and the earth was unformed and void. In other words, astonishingly empty. Tohu vohu. The light and the darkness was written, the darkness was upon the face of the deep. So it goes on with the verse. But then the rabbis want to figure out exactly what these words are. And it says right here, it was taught in the Tosefta that tohu is a green line that encompasses the entire world. from which darkness emerges. So in other words, that's where that's the actual line where space starts and our atmosphere stops. So under that line, that's where we get light. But above that line, when you go above that line, you're in darkness. And you see that when the astronauts, they take off in the space shuttle. When they breach that line, you'll see, when they have the video, you see the in their I don't know what you call it, cockpit or whatever, their window, as they're going through our atmosphere, there's light, like they're in, like we see today when we walk outside. But just when they breach a certain point, it automatically turns dark. That's them breaching that green line. So that green line is the separation between light and darkness. That's why after the verse it says that the earth is unformed and void, or astonishingly empty. That's the tohu bivohu. And darkness is over the surface of the deep. In other words, that's the line that separates the darkness. So how can we prove that this green line exists? Because you have to be in space. Well, luckily today we have people in space. So all we have to do is go to the International Space Station and look at the videos and the pictures that they've taken of the planet. And they have it on NASA's website. You can actually look at these yourself. But I've taken the liberty of pulling quite a few of these videos down, and I connected them all together. And for the last few minutes of this video, that's what you're going to see, is all of these beautiful visions of the green line around the Earth. Okay, so here's NASA's videos. Let me turn the volume off for a moment, the sound. And this is from the International Space Station. They have several, not several, they have a lot of these videos on their website. You can look at them yourself. And it clearly shows this green line. Now, they didn't take these videos to show us the green line. They didn't even realize that it was there until they took the picture. And they don't know the significance of it. They were just trying to show people on Earth how beautiful Earth looks from space. But throughout all of these videos, you see that there's clearly a green line around the globe. So here's absolute proof. How could anybody 3,300 years ago know that there's a green line that goes around the Earth? How could anybody know that? So you see, and this is in the oral Torah. So you can see that this was information we got from God himself. Because obviously 3,300 years ago, the only people that were up in space would have been God. So anyway, you can watch the rest of these videos here that I got. There's a few more minutes. Very beautiful video. But it gives you an idea that the books that we have today, the Hebrew scriptures we have today, written and oral, are all completely divinely given, and they're exactly like they were given to us. We haven't changed them at all. So this is just one proof. I'll make other videos in the future with other proofs, and meanwhile, sit back and enjoy this beautiful video, and I'll turn back on the sound and leave you to it. Thanks for joining me today.